Hello, everyone. I think we can start. It's 15:35. First of all, welcome at this orientation workshop we are organizing today in order to provide you the information needed for the innovation partnership we have published for the call for tenders we have published within the Klimaboro project. First of all, let me give you a few rules to make this meeting profitable for everyone. First of all, as we are nearly 90 people at the moment, I would kindly ask you to keep your microphones muted during the meeting and use and raise the hand in case you'll have any question to make at the question and answer session. So we'll give you the floor based on the hands raised. Then I'd like to ask you if you could rename your names by also including the organization to which you belong to, as done you can see my name, Besti Gomiti and Francesco. We have added our organization ANCI Toscana in our third, this meeting is being registered, and we'll use it also for let's say for communication purposes, but also to give to make it available to everyone needing to receive the same information you are receiving on the call for tender. Francesco, do you have anything to add to these three small rules I mentioned, or should we go ahead?
No, just I want to say good afternoon to everyone. And there is this chat post, which I don't know how to interpret. There is someone who included an AI tool to generate meeting summaries. Considering there is a recording in progress, I don't know who did it, but I think it is part of the obligations related to GDPR if we want to allow this widget to do its job during the meeting, to provide meeting summaries, as it says in the meeting note. So I think we should consider, first of all, who uploaded this information, if it was a gift from Zoom, the platform we are using, or some participant did it.
No, it's a setting of the Zoom.
So if it is so, the permission to use your identities in this meeting, because we are recording it, should be extended to the privacy policy of this widget, which I don't know. I've never been there to check in advance. So be careful if you are fond of your privacy. Be ready to leave the meeting if you don't want to be part of the recording of this meeting today.
Okay. Okay, so let's start the meeting. I see still people joining us. We have had around 130 registrations for the orientation workshop. I see now we are a bit more than 90, so we can start this meeting. Just a few words about the agenda. There will be a presentation of the Klimaboro project, a short presentation that I will provide immediately after. And then Francesco is meant to present the Klimaboro call for tenders, the innovation partnership we have launched on 18th of October. And then after the presentation made by Francesco, I will also provide some, let's say, technical guidance for the Good Grants platform that has been chosen for the purpose of the application to the call for tender. So let me share the screen and present Klimaboro. I don't know if you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect. So I will go in presentation mode.
While you are getting ready, Besnik, let me remind the people who just joined that they should rename themselves close to the name and surname. It would be good to have the organization of affiliation. So, for example, I see Raul Espinel. I would like to know which organization he is part of. I see Enito, 5 letters, which is little for me. So help us prepare a good proceedings of today's meeting by adding your full identity to the list of participants. Thank you in advance.
Thank you, Francesco, for reminding it. And in the meantime, I'd like to ask you, Francesco, if you can let people admit during my presentation, as I won't be able perhaps to see that somebody is trying to enter. So good afternoon, again. My name is Besnik Mehmeti. I'm part of the European team of the ANCI Toscana. ANCI Toscana is the association of the Tuscan municipalities based in Florence and is the coordinator of Klimaboro project. Klimaboro is a project, a Horizon Europe project financed by the European Commission within the EU mission of 100 climate neutral and smart cities, so of the cities mission, and is made by 27 partners, half of them, so more than half of them, 14, being cities, and other partners are academic institutions or European networks and or companies, etc. As you can see, the 14 cities are distributed around all Europe. We have 8 cities that are considered like as leader cities. Cascais in Portugal, Grenoble Alpes in France, Turin in Italy, Ioannina and Athens in Greece, Maribor in Slovenia, Differdange in Luxembourg, and Sofia in Bulgaria. And then we have 6 follower and associated cities, which are Kirk in Croatia, Prijedor in Bosnia, Katowice in Poland, Pilsen in Czech Republic, Issy-les-Moulineaux in France, and Podgorica in Montenegro. So what is the rationale of Klimaboro? As you all know, we are living a climate crisis, which is particularly urgent for the cities, as more than 85% of the European Union population live in cities, and cities counts for 75% of all global greenhouses, despite the area covered by the cities is quite insignificant at global level or at European level. So there is a climate emergency we are living in, which must be tackled first of all by cities and its citizens. And what we need to rethink is the role of the urban planning in breaking the silos that impede the transition, the green transition, and first of all, think about the way our cities are structured and are managed, and they deliver their plans, which is not adequate to the challenge we have in front of us. Moreover, we have started from the assumption that we don't lack the technologies. The technologies for the climate for the transition to climate neutrality are there. We lack the right use to we lack the right, I mean, the way we use these technologies, and we need to address the gap that exists between the market and the needs of the local authorities. In addition, behavioral change, as we are talking about citizens, behavioral change is another aspect that we are taking care about. So Klimaboro has proposed 5 steps for the transition to climate neutrality. First of all, we need to connect the urban planning with the definition of the challenges for the climate mitigation plans. And we have done this during the first months of the project from January to May, more or less. Then the second step concerns the publication of a call for tender. So it's an innovative partnership we have already designed and published, and which is open to all economic operators, startups, SMEs, alone or associated, and that is easily accessible thanks to low thresholds we have included. The third step is the deployment of the solutions that we will purchase through the call for tenders, and this hopefully will be possible from June 2024 onward. And then the fourth step is about the adoption of monitoring and evaluation tools in the 8 cities that we have involved. And then the fifth step is about the replication and transferability of the results between the cities and also in the 4 follower cities that are included in Klimaboro. So the goal through the public procurement is to provide to all the leader cities and later the follower cities with services and products that match the needs of the cities in terms of transition to climate neutrality. The instrument we have chosen is a partnership for innovation partnership. So that ANCI Toscana will manage on the behalf of the 8 leader cities. And the second edition of this call will be also published in 1.5 years from now, in order to enable also the 4 follower cities to replicate and scale up the goals of the project. Just a step behind, but this will be also taken by Francesco in its presentation. As a preparatory process, we have delivered 8 preliminary market consultations. These were held in July 2023 and included a presentation of the challenge of each of the city, discussion and clarifications with the participants to the preliminary market consultation, and then the optional submission of proposal ideas. Then we build the tender according to the results of the preliminary market consultation, taking into account as much as possible the feedbacks we receive. And then now we have published, as I said before, on 18th of October, the call for tender. And also we have a platform which is called Good Grants, and we'll talk about that later on, through which it is possible now to submit your applications. So yeah, I'm anticipated the date. The official documents of the tender are available at this hyperlink that you can see in my slide. The amount is quite significant, considering that we are a European project. a Horizon Europe project, the amount of the call for tender is 2.4 million euros, VAT excluded. There are 8 lots, 1 per city, each of 300,000 euros, and we plan to award two distinct solutions per each lot. Candidatures will be open until end of November, 30th November, using the Good Guns, as I said, electronic submission system. You can find the hyperlink in my slide. So 30th November, midnight, Brussels times will be the deadline for the submission of tenders, of your applications. Yeah, coming to the end of my presentation, I'd like to thank you for your attention, and also ask you to register to our social media and to our newsletter, on which you will also find information about the next steps of the call for tender. Thank you, and I leave the floor to Francesco for the presentation of the call for tender.
Thank you, Besnik. I don't know if there are any burning questions. Otherwise, I would recommend making them after my introduction to the call for tender, which will be purposefully short in order to leave the room for questions. I am now sharing my screen with the presentation. This one. Let me go in presentation mode. Okay. As Besnik was saying, we published the call on TED, the supplement of the official journal of the European Union dedicated to public procurement, on the 18th of October. On the left-hand side, you can see the link where you can download all the official documents from, and you have on the right-hand side the official numbering of the call for tender. We have this submission platform, as Besnik was mentioning, and the platform will be presented by himself after my speech. And we also have an FAQ page where I see there is a typo, because there should be an S added at the end of the link, but we will correct this typo when we publish the slides of this presentation. This call is divided in 8 lots, as Besnik was mentioning. 4 cities form a hub, which is something with a precise meaning in the jargon of our project, but with less importance for the participation in this call. Let's say that hub means that there is a common topic among these 4 cities, which is about energy and mobility, in the case of Athens, Differdange, Grenoble, and Sofia, and it is about waste management and circularity for the other 4 cities of Cascais, Ioannina, Maribor, and Turin. These are the 4 cities that were leader cities in the presentation done by Besnik. What you can see as a subtitle is just a very short summary of the challenge the solution providers participating in this call are supposed to contribute to tackling. Again, I'm making reference to Besnik's introduction when he said it's a lot about behavioral change combined with technology, and all these challenges are described in more detail in attachment 2 to the tender regulations. The common traits of the solutions we are looking for are data, people, and technology. As you see from this slide, there was a long discussion about the features of the solutions during the preliminary market consultations, which were held on 8 distinct days of July this year, with, as you can see, a huge participation of people from outside the consortium, about 300 participants, 2/3 of whom were unique participants, but also 100 or a bit less showing up in more than just one preliminary market consultation event. And this is because of the commonalities of the challenges belonging to the same hub as described earlier. After the organization of the event, we also allowed sufficient time to anyone wanting to send a proposal for a solution meeting the challenges presented during the events. And full range of proceedings from these 8 events are displayed in the link that you can see on the bottom left part of the slide, so that you can probably get the feeling of what was discussed during those events if you download the main presentations, and you can also take a look at the ideas and the proposals that were submitted during those events. Now we have the call for tender, as I mentioned. The call for tender has indeed taken benefit from the activities done before, but it is obviously autonomous, self-sufficient with respect to all the previous discussions. And it is structured in 5 phases. These and other slides which follow are taken from the tender regulations, which is attachment 1 we have produced and can be downloaded from the link I provided before. The 5 phases are accompanied by specific deadlines. So we are now in phase 1 of competition, which has a deadline at the end of November. And the purpose of this phase, also named the candidature phase, is to receive candidatures from single or associated economic operators willing to be invited to present a proposal. So the first phase is not about reiterating what someone may have already done during the month of July or August, that is sending ideas and proposals, but it is only about being invited, asking to be invited. The invitations will be formulated before the end of the year, and there will be time in phase 2 until the end of January to present the proposals for solution, which will be received only in the form of a technical offer. So we are not asking you for a price in this case, but only the description of the solution will have to be submitted. Why? Because there will be time during the month of February to do the so-called negotiation of received proposals, during which we will tell you in which ways your technical offer can be improved according to our opinion, either by including additional features which you may not have thought about, but also by dropping aspects of the proposal which may have been important for you, but they are not as important for us in the view that we have of the pathways towards the resolution of the city challenges. So it will be a negotiation in the real terms, which will be done bilaterally. And conclusion will be that you will have time until the end of March next year to present a revised technical offer accompanied this time by a price. After which we will take our time to reevaluate not only the technical offers as revised after the negotiation, but also the financial offers and make a ranking of the received solutions according to the best quality versus price ratio. Here, another very important aspect is that we will not only award the best solution proposal, but also the second ranked proposal per each city. And this is another element of distinction which belongs to the peculiarities of the chosen innovation procurement instrument. Finally, as Besnik was anticipating, we will probably sign the contract with each successful candidate, which is named partnership agreement, because the whole instrument is named differently than a normal procurement contract. It is named innovation partnership. So the partnership agreement is the contract. It will be signed probably until the end of May next year, and all the applicants will have a maximum allowance of 12 months to finalize the deployment of their solution at the host city level. So this is the mechanism. Now for the remaining part of my presentation, I will focus on phase one, which is the candidature phase, having the deadline of end of November, as I mentioned earlier. First of all, let me say that the same procedure applies even in the case you may want to candidate yourselves to more than one lot. This is perfectly acceptable. And the fact that we have these two hubs of solutions, in our opinion, of challenges, sorry, in our opinion, makes it so that the same solution may also be good for more than just one city. So there is full allowance to candidate yourselves to more than one lot. And these will be completely separate and independent procedures. So the fact that you candidate more than once will not have any influence on the chances of your the acceptance of your candidature. All economic operators residing in the European Union and as an extension in the countries associated to Horizon Europe, which also include Switzerland and the UK, can present a candidature. It can be a candidature as a single participant or in association with other participants. The idea of associating several candidates is a way to facilitate the achievement of the minimum threshold for participation, which I will list as a collection of requisites in the coming slides. It is also possible, even in the case of a single candidate, to use the involvement of third parties, like, for example, sister or mother companies, subcontractors, etc., to cumulate, to aggregate the requirements of each. But this is only acceptable under the condition that they will also have to be part of the delivery in case the proposal is successful, and therefore there is a partnership agreement signed by you. Each of the aforementioned legal entities, single or associate candidates, third parties, and so on, must follow the same procedure on the electronic system we have prepared, and which will be described later by Besnik, to upload some relevant documents we ask to verify the compliance with the requirements of the code. So what are the attachments? As I was mentioning earlier, there is a long list of attachments, but I will focus in my introduction only to those now made evident because they are only and all those that are relevant for this phase expiring at the end of November. Of course, it is meaningful to occupy yourselves, to use some of the time you decided to dedicate to this call to examine also the details of the other documents which are barred at the moment, as it is the joint reading of all the attachments which will give you the full idea of whether it makes sense or not to participate in this call. The conditions for participation can be grouped in three distinct clusters. One has to do with the suitability to pursue the professional activity related to the purposes of the call. The second cluster has to do with the economic and financial standing of you as a single or an associate participant or candidate, including the case of involved third parties. And the third group of conditions has to do with the technical and professional ability. These are all quotes from the tender regulations, which you have probably already downloaded. So the professional activity is simple to describe because it only refers to the verification that you are in one way or another a business entity, not just a natural person or a generic entity not running any specific business. So the requirements are related to holding a VAT number if you are a natural person, or being an established company as witnessed by a certificate of registration in a chamber of commerce, for example, or any equivalent business register in your country. And finally, if you are a public sector organization, of course, we cannot pretend that you are in possession of a VAT number if you don't have it. We cannot pretend that you are registered in a business register if you are a public entity, but nevertheless, we need to know that you exist, which means that a copy of the law of establishment in original language, accompanied by a short summary in English, will be required jointly with the declaration that you have or don't have a VAT number because of your activity. This is more or less like a statistical information. The entirety of this information will be delivered by filling in the ESPD, the so-called European Single Procurement Document, which will include not only the information on professional activity, but also the reference to the other two families or groups of conditions. So the idea is that you should think of filling in the ESPD in its entirety. Same goes for those who participate in the call, either because they are part of the same grouping of economic operators or because they give you part of their requisites because of some sort of association in this call participation. In any case, what needs to be done is that the ESPD template is filled in and uploaded by any involved entity, together with the accompanying documentation, which is in the case of professional activity, what you can read here. And then we have the documentation on economic and financial standing, which is, again, first of all, to be inputted in the ESPD, and then, of course, supported by evidence, but the most important thing is to correctly input this information in the ESPD. On the one hand, we have a request to document your total revenue in the most recent financial year, which is something you can do by filling in this information in a specific section and point of the ESPD. And also we have this so-called solvency ratio, which is practically speaking the ratio between the shareholder capital of your entity and total assets, as stated or resulting from the most recent financial year balance sheet or equivalent information. In any case, what we need is to reach a minimum threshold for these two requirements, the minimum threshold being 150,000 euros in the case of the turnover, and 5% in the case of the solvency ratio. This means that unless you reach autonomously with your own balance sheet for the most recently available financial year, these two thresholds, you cannot participate alone in this call because your candidature would be rejected. Of course, you can opt for the association with other entities, as I said, by creating a formal or informal consortium or grouping, or in any case, receiving the support of third parties, subcontractors, sister or mother companies, etc., according to the rules stated in the call. Then we have the technical and professional ability, which will have to be documented at least for one of these three cases. This is the minimum requirement. Again, in case you cannot document any of these three conditions, this means that your candidature as a single participant would be rejected. So the advice is to go and look for someone else to partner with. The three conditions are those listed here as A, B, and C. And the first one refers to having already delivered a similar service in the past, irrespective of its amount. So it's a bit just to verify that you know what we are talking about, not to impose yet another condition on the top of the turnover requirement. The second condition can be fulfilled by attaching and uploading to the platform the CVs of people who may have as employees or in another form as consultants, in-house consultants. We don't care much about that. Their CVs will be used to assess the educational and professional qualifications of your team. Here, the condition is that those that you mentioned now will have to be used, so to speak, to carry out the concrete delivery of work in case your final proposal is successful, and we therefore sign a partnership agreement between us. So this is very crucial because in case you nominate or appoint someone today, and in 8 months from now, when the time comes to sign the contract, this person is not available anymore, you will have to document in writing the reason why this person is no longer available. And there must be very serious reasons, otherwise you may be under risk of not signing the contract with us. Finally, the third requirement is about any relevant patent or qualification or market recognition in the field that you selected by deciding to participate in this or in that lot of the tender. Of course, if you decide to participate in more than one lot, it can well be the case that some patent or qualification or market recognition will be only good or mostly good for one lot and maybe less good or not at all relevant for the other lot. This depends very much on the specificities of the lot you are choosing, or the lots you are choosing. What we can say is that we will repeat the assessment for every lot using the information you send us, as if we were seeing it for the first time. The only exception to this rule is when we evaluate the financial standing of your organization, the turnover and the 5% of ratio between capital and assets, the solvency ratio as we name it. In these cases, we will use every threshold only once. This means that if you have a turnover of 150,000 euros last year, you cannot make an application as a single tenderer to more than one lot, because you have already spent the turnover for the first lot, and there is no other turnover left for participating in additional lots. Same goes for the case of the solvency ratio. Of course, if you partner with other organizations, we can predict that you will find ways to bypass this constraint and so candidate yourselves to more than one lot. Once we have received all the candidatures, and we have verified the minimum thresholds that I just finished describing, we will go to the selection criteria. I see there is a hand raised by Nora. If there is anything that cannot wait, please take the floor. Otherwise, in a few minutes, I will be finished and you can make the question as first. So keep your hand raised and you will make the question as first. So the table in front of you is a table we will use to provide a ranking of the received candidatures. So just let's make an example. Just to make an example, suppose that in lot 1, which is Athens, if I remember correctly, we receive 50 candidatures. We check each of them and we realize that 5 of them do not meet the minimum thresholds for one or more parameters. So we will say, unfortunately, to the 5 of them, you are not eligible. And so the number of received candidatures will be lowered from 50 to 45. Now, the problem we have is that we wrote in the call that we don't want 45 participants in this call. And the reason is that it would be impossible to manage 45 negotiations only in one lot. So we put a threshold, a ceiling, to the number of candidatures that we will accept in each lot. This ceiling is 6. It is a loose ceiling, and I will explain what I mean by saying a loose ceiling. Anyway, let's start by 6 and see this table as a way to solve the problem of downsizing the number of 45 to a more manageable 6. We will have to prepare a ranking. The ranking will be prepared using the criteria and the scores that you see in front of you. The criteria are the same criteria which I presented before. Now the difference is that we will only consider the parameters or requirements above the minimum threshold. So, for example, if we take the example of the turnover, which is the first in this row, if you, with your company, have a turnover of 300,000 euros last year, and you only candidated yourselves in the first lot, which is the Athens lot, we will drop from the calculation the first 150,000 euros, because we already used that part of your turnover to verify that you are fulfilling the conditions for entry in the call. Then we will only look at the turnover that exceeds the first 150,000 euros. In the case you have, as stated, the turnover of 300,000, we will give you just 1 point extra, because we are writing here that for each additional 1 million euros above the 150,000, we will give you an extra point, also considering the fractions. So with a turnover of 300,000, which means 150,000 above the minimum threshold, you are experiencing the case of a fraction of 1 million euros. And this is something that will be scored with 1 point. And the maximum score for this parameter will be 10 points. Same goes for all the other criteria. I'm not spending more time here because I expect there will be questions on each, but be aware that the reasoning behind will be identical in all cases. So what we will do, as I said, we will select 6 or a bit more received candidatures by using the criteria in the previous table. As I said, 6 is a loose number. Why? Because if we realize that the 7th in the ranking has very close score to the 6th in the ranking, we will not say, it's a rigid, there is what was the name during the Cold War? There is the Iron Curtain separating the East and the West, the 6th and the 7th. No, we will include the 7th in the ranking, maybe the 8th in the ranking, if the scores are very close to one another. So the number of 6 is just indicative and can be derogated again by a rule which is stated in the code. So we will invite you until the end of 23 to send us a technical offer. You will have 1 month nominally to prepare your offer. This is why it makes sense that if you are seriously committed not only to participating but also to being selected, it is probably good that you start working at the technical offer already during these months, because the news that your candidature has been approved, you will get it probably before Christmas. We put the end of December, but it will be more or less in December, end of December. And so you will have only 1 month to prepare a proposal, which is not very complicated to prepare, but it is anyway something challenging and maybe needing some time. So recommendation is to start as early as possible in the preparation of the technical offer. Then, as I said, we will negotiate the received offers until February, and we will ask you to resubmit by end of March, this time with a financial offer. And we plan on awarding 2 tenderers per lot until the end of April. And then after some bureaucratic commitment, we will be able to sign the partnership agreement until the end of May. And the end of May, with the signature of the partnership agreement, will also be the moment when we will pay 50% of the contract price, which is the price that you stated in your financial offer, as advance payment. I think this is something, again, that differentiates a lot our approach from typical calls for tender. We have understood also from what happened during and after the preliminary market consultations that some advance payments may be needed from your side to buy, for example, sensors to be deployed in the cities, and therefore we think we have chosen the right approach in giving trust to all of you and pay half of the contract value as an advance payment. Of course, we will pay to the head of a consortium in case there is a candidature formulated by several entities. We will pay the whole amount to the leader of this grouping, and then it will be your task internally to redistribute this amount to any other involved organization. To enter the negotiation, you will have to fulfill minimum requirements for your technical offers, much in the same way as I mentioned for the access requirements related to technical, professional, financial, and so on. This is taken from the tender regulation. It is a table collecting what we named the minimum requirements which the technical offers delivered by the end of January will have to fulfill. Now you can only see the beginning of the description of each minimum requirement. The reason for this is that the details may be different and are indeed different if you go from city to city. So what I invite you to do in the perspective of preparing the technical offer is to read carefully the requirements of each city contained in a similar table to this one, but with the full description of what has to be done. The logic is exactly the same. By the end of January, you have to respect the minimum requirements and present a technical offer that fulfills them all. Then, during the negotiation, we will discuss if there can be some adjustment in your proposal. The discussion will be totally confidential. Nobody will know about the details of the discussion. Of course, we will not share with anyone the details of the technical offer, but the idea is exactly to say, okay, here you went above the minimum requirement, but probably too much, so you can reduce this part of your solution description, which will probably save you some money, some resources. On the other hand, I have the perception, after reading all the other received proposals, that you might be in a better position if you increase the direction, the intensity of fulfillment of that other requirement above the minimum threshold. You see, there is a reciprocal interest in doing this negotiation. On the one hand, it will be your interest to know in which directions you should invest to improve the quality of your proposal. On the other hand, it is the interest of the participating city, and therefore our interest as ANCI Toscana, to have more with the same price, which is limited to 150,000 euros as a maximum value for each winner in each lot. And again, once we have received the revised technical offer, which may be identical to the initial offer if you decide that you don't want to follow any advice because you are strong enough, you know you are strong enough with your proposal, you may decide not to change a single line from the initial to the final technical offer, but in any case, you will have to add a price which cannot exceed 150,000 euros. And as you can see from the first criterion here, we will give you a recognition in terms of points if you make a discount of the base price for this tender. At that price that you state in the financial offer, you will commit to deploying the solution during 1 year of time. The other awarding criteria, I will not mention them, but they are in the tender regulations, and they can also be the subject of a specific question during the question time. Finally, I want to mention the topic of IPR, which has been handled in a very original way, if not innovative, especially in the draft partnership agreement, which is another document I didn't comment in my presentation. It is the contract that we will sign with each of the winners of the call, but the contract has a number of clauses that may be worth reading already now. One is about the IPR arrangements, saying that despite the fact that ANCI Toscana pays for the experimentation, the solutions developed and tested in each city will become their property at the end of the deployment phase. And in addition to that, each municipality will have the right, not the obligation, to buy additional copies of the developed and tested solutions at a predefined price. The price is not known at the moment, but it will be the outcome of a calculation which we will ask you to do according to a template which is already attached to the tender documents, and you will use that template at the end of the deployment phase to determine this price and document the calculations in an objective way. At that price, the city can decide to buy one or more copies of the solution, or maybe none, because the price is considered too high. The host city and ANCI Toscana as main contractor will never claim any royalty, license fee, or other form of benefit on the solutions that we will have helped to deploy, either because we at ANCI Toscana are paying for the deployment, or because you will receive concrete support and advice from the teams of the cities involved in the different lots of this call for tender. So we will not claim any benefit from this collaboration, and in return, what we only ask you is to provide free of charge to the city, at least for the single deployed solution, an update and maintenance service free of charge for a period of 12 months after the end of the contract, which is represented by the last payment we will make to you according to the contract or partnership agreement rules. That's all. I thank you for your attention. I hope I didn't take too much time. And so now I would like to stop sharing, open the floor to questions. As Besnik said in the beginning, you can raise your hands if you want to speak while making a question, and also as an alternative, use the chat box to make your questions in writing. I didn't read the chat box before. I saw there are 7 new messages, so I will start by the hands raised and then go to what may be written already in the chat box. So
Francesco,
please.
Yeah, before giving the floor to our guests, just I'd like to renovate again my request to rename your participation by adding your affiliation, the organization you belong to, because there have been a lot of let's say people who has joined us also later after the start of this meeting. So please, Nora, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for the explanation. I have 2 questions. One is about the last slide that was shown on the IPR for clarification. So the ownership by the host city of the solution, is this ownership of the data that is provided, or ownership of what exactly, because for example, we're thinking of a platform where we would provide a license to the platform. What would then consist the ownership?
Okay, this is something I will repeat also for other questions which I saw quickly on the chat box. The complexity of this call is that there are basically 8 different pilot sites. So first of all, you should bear this in mind when you think of the solution. Second, there will be several proposals, and the award of the best 2 proposals will consider both the quality and the price. So let's forget about the price for an instant. Let's focus on quality. As I tried to explain, quality will be assessed in 2 stages. First, the capacity to outperform the minimum requirements, otherwise it will be excluded. And second, by how much, in which directions the requirements are being exceeded. It is in this context that your specific proposal, Nora, should be and will be evaluated. So it depends on what is written in the technical proposal, the definition of the solution which will be used to define your case. Also considering that 2 distinct proposals will be awarded per each lot, which means that in principle, if you are proposing a solution which uses an existing platform on the cloud, there may be someone else proposing a solution to the same problem or challenge, which uses, for example, an application that is developed from scratch. Both of them will be acceptable for us, and they will be, both of them, financed, but the definition of the property will depend on the technical shape of what we have in front of us at the end of the deployment phase.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask my second question?
Please.
It's about the condition of the solvency and the turnover. So if there is a consortium, I understand the turnover would be the sum of the turnover of the participating companies. And what about the solvency? Is this a threshold or is this an average, or how do you look at it?
We will sum up the assets and the shareholder capitals of all of them and calculate a single solvency ratio for the aggregation of participants.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So now I see Giulia Garzon.
Yes, thank you, Francesco. I have a question about the example you gave for the points. And you said that if the turnover is above 150,000 euros, you get a point each 1 million euros. But in your example, you said if a company has 300,000, then you get a point. So how does that work?
Because fractions are also allowed.
Okay.
Extra 150,000 euros are a fraction of 1 million.
Okay, I see. Thank you. I have another question, if I may.
Please.
You were talking about the conditions. I don't have the slides, but it was something about it was 3 points, 3A, B, and C. And I didn't quite get point A, which mentioned as similar service. I don't know if you had the slides and you can maybe elaborate more on that.
I will share the slide again. Anyway, this is similar to what I was mentioning earlier in my reply to the previous question. We should bear in mind that there are 8 distinct lots, and so the definition of similar services will depend on the lot we are talking about. I think it is this one, right?
Yeah.
Oops. It disappeared. Here. So the idea is the following. Let's take another example. We spoke about Athens. We talk about Sofia. Sofia has an issue connected with car traffic management. Of course, we are not here to exclude anyone, but it would be a paradox if someone coming up with a specialized business in the area of waste management candidated the company to delivering a service for car traffic management, which is totally new to their business. That would be something, as I said, paradoxical, which we could not accept. On the other hand, as I said, first of all, this is not necessarily the only possibility for you to fulfill the requirements of technical and professional ability. As it is written on the same slide, at least one of the three conditions must be fulfilled. So we might also accept an applicant which has never delivered a service in the area of traffic management, but nevertheless is in possession of a team who, according to the CVs, has a clear evidence of educational and professional qualifications which can be related to traffic management. I don't mention the third option because if you don't have any previous experience in the area of traffic management, it is quite difficult that you have gotten a patent recognition or other forms of qualification. But nevertheless, in principle, this may also be a case. So for the minimum threshold, you can choose which of the three requisites you would like to fulfill and invest on that. Anyway, as I showed in the table on the following slide, and the slides will be shared after the meeting, we are also rewarding with points the requirements going above the minimum level for all the three conditions. So in this case, you should... Mute your microphone. Can you mute the microphone of this person? Thank you.
I'm trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Okay. So in the case you are, for example, you never did a service in the area of traffic management before, you may be under risk that you will get a 0 in this case here. So it is possibly a risk for your company, suppose it is so, a risk that you can avoid if you join forces with someone else having similar experience in this domain. I don't know if I answered your question, Julie.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I don't see any other hand raised, so I will go to the chat box.
Yeah, Francesco, there is a question I received directly asking can we send only one participation request document for several cities projects, or should be sent several requests? I think it's quite easy.
Every procedure is independent. You want to candidate yourselves to 8 lots, you will have to repeat the procedure 8 times.
Here.
Sorry.
Then there is another question. What is meant by employee? Collaborators with contracts and funding members?
It can be anything. It can also be partners,
founding members.
Members of the owners of the shareholder capital. I missed the English word now. So if the founders, as you were saying, Besnik, are in possession of a good curriculum, that will also be acceptable. For us, the interest is not in the formal relationship, with only one exception, which I mentioned later. For us, the interest is that the people you put the CVs of are really engaged in the execution of the contract. So for us, it is not that relevant if they are shareholders or managers, members of the board, consultants, in-house consultants. The important thing is that you have a solid connection with them, and so the people will be the same in charge of executing the contract in 1 year time. There is only one exception, which is the national regulations on salaries and working conditions. We have a commitment, all of us, to ethical management of any business, but there are also rules and regulations in place in your country and in the country where deployment will materialize. We will have to consider at a later stage who are the members of this list of employees or whatever, because we will have to verify jointly that these people are treated in a fair way with the minimum salary paid, if there is a minimum salary operating in the country, with the respect of all the rules and regulations concerning safety at work. So only for this reason, we will be interested in knowing who is an employee and who is a consultant, for example, because the difference will be relevant if we go on site and look for the people who are doing something dangerous on site. I don't think anything dangerous will be involved, but you never know. And so we put in the tender regulations a reference to the norms that regulate safety on the job and the minimum salaries, which may invoke the reference to a list of real employees. I don't know if I answered Besnik, because I don't know who made the question.
I think so. They are looking, forward to see other hands raised. There are other two questions by Elena in the chat. So to apply as a consortium, what needs to be done between the entities part of the consortium before the first phase deadline, November 30? Do we need a formal deed from the notary, or it's enough to sign an agreement between the consortium members?
Yes. Incidentally, there are a couple of questions before Elena, but I'm now answering to them. We don't care, basically, Elena, about the internal agreements. You can decide to go for a consortium, or you can also decide to stay informal. What we need in terms of information is basically two things. Who are the members of the grouping? Whatever the grouping is, we want each of them to upload the EPSD and also some other information to the system. And then we know we want an additional document from you nominating the responsible entity for this grouping or consortium, etc. Why? Because the contract will be signed with that entity. All the other members will co-sign, will give their acceptance, but basically we want to interact with only one entity, and you will have to nominate that entity already during this phase. And this will never be changed afterwards. So that's what we need from you. Then there is another point, which is...
Yeah, there's another point. Chapter 3.5, point C. If we have filed a patent application that currently is in progress, so the official outcome is not yet available, it will be relevant to write it
Yes, yes. I hope that we were generic enough to make room for cases like this. We are not fond of official recognitions because we want to make a ranking based on the best, the most frequently awarded companies. We need evidence of professional capacity. And so a patent application will be welcome, of course, with some reference to the contents, but being part of a procedure, we will be happy if you just make some very limited reference to the content of that application. Now, before going to the questions that follow, I will go back because I spotted some. There was at 1601, there was Zoe asking, so during the first phase, there is a first assessment of the candidates, meaning only evidence for specific criteria to be fulfilled. The technical tender is until end of January, only if you pass phase 1, correct? Yes. Yes, and that was answered by you, Besnik. I didn't notice it. Okay, so then I see. So in the case of consortium, the conditions for of turnover is sum of turnover. Okay, that was made by Nora in words. So yes, the solvency average will be done by summing up the assets of all the participants and the shareholder capital or whatever has to be considered above the line for all the participants in this grouping. Employee, I saw the question, you already read it. Similar, okay. And then I jump to what follows Elena's question. Can we receive these clarifications in writing? Yes, but you have to formulate the questions in writing. In other words, we are now about to publish an FAQ page. The FAQ page will be fed by your questions if you send them in writing to our address climab@climaboro.eu, and we will publish the question and the answer on the FAQ page. Of course, we will give you private answers by email, but it is very important that you formulate these questions in writing if you want a written reply. Otherwise, today's workshop is being recorded, and of course, there is no reason why we should give in writing a different answer to any question than what I have already said to you, for example, in the case of the consortium. I don't think I have any other question in the chat box. So I stop for an instant and let's see, Besnik, what we want to do now to finalize the meeting. I think you have your presentation left, right?
I would say let's go ahead now with the presentation of the GoodGrants platform. So let me share the screen. 1 second. So some of you have already, you can see my screen, right? You can confirm?
Yes.
Okay. So some of you have been already starting using the GoodGrants platform. Take into consideration that the Annex 2 in the Annex 2 of the call for tender provides the technical guidance for the use of the platform. So the first, let's say, information you find in the platform are about the login and registration. So it's possible to log in and register with your email. In the home page here, you find all the instructions on how to register on how are the steps to get into the platform, including the important information about the phase 1 of the competition with the deadline, set the information that this deadline cannot be postponed and that the tendering system will prevent automatically the submission of the candidatures after the deadline. The support email you can let's say use for any inquiry, for any question you may have. So I will start my let's say login in the platform, my registration in the platform. So I will use Climaboro as the email as let's say a test to registration. So you'll see, you can see that a security code is of 6 digits is asked. I think I should have received it in my email. Just let me check very quickly. So I have got the security code. It's 8. So I continue. Now you have this, let's say you must agree the privacy policy, the cookies and terms of service, and agree to receive notifications by email from ANCI Toscana. So you complete the registration. And you'll see that you can start the application. So you can start the application of Climaboro, and it's very easy as a application system. So what you need to fill in this first page, start here, it's called. You need to only include the application name. So I will call it Climaboro, let's say, and the location of the CityPilot. So a top-down menu will open, and so you can choose the location of the CityPilot and then save and go to the next page. Here you have let's say first of all a menu to select. So you will tick on the list of the documents that you have uploaded in the platform. So you will tick in these fields. Just please remind that the fields D, E, and F are the only ones that are compulsory to be for which it's compulsory to upload a document, and then you can start let's say uploading your files. You can select a file from your menu, or you can drag your file here. So once and you just let me mention that you have also some instructions on the right. So you can include only a PDF document. It's not possible to include more than one PDF document for each of the fields, and the size of each document should not be more than 10 megabytes. So you can I can try to include some documents. Just give me just a second. I need to find PDF documents, so I can take this one. So I can drag here a file. As you can see, it uploads. Perfect. So and you can save anytime you upload a file. You can save your application, and then of course be back again to your application. You'll see that the file is already there, and then go ahead with the different uploads of the files. So I will only upload the C, D, and E fields, as they are obligatory for the purposes of the participation to the call for tender. but the same is it works in the same way also for the other fields. Now, I'd like also you can pay attention to the other fields. There is a text field with a maximum of 2,000 characters. It's optional, so it's not obligatory, in which you can provide an explanation of the documents that you will upload in the section K, where other documents that are not the ones foreseen by the code, but you may wish to upload any other evidence, as Francesco mentioned. So you can upload it in this field called K. Always reminding that you can upload one PDF document of the size of 10 megabytes. Then you can provide any other relevant information in the form of text. It's this field contains up to 10,000 characters, which means a lot of information. So please also select this information in an accurate way when you paste it in the platform. Then we ask you for the name and surname of the responsible person for this submission. This is important for us in order to have, let's say, a person that can answer to any question we may have in the evaluation phase. And we ask you to include the email address. This is obligatory. Both name and surname and email address are obligatory. This email address is important not only for, as I said, the request of a clarification or we may need, but also in order to receive the notification that your application has been submitted successfully. So please don't forget to include this information in the platform. And then last information is about the phone number. You can open the menu here and select your country code and then include your phone number. Now, once you can save your application at any moment by selecting Save plus Next or Save plus Close, or you can preview the application form. Once you have, let's say, finished this process, you click on Submit the application. And once you have submitted the application, you'll receive a notification that it has been submitted successfully. Now, what happens if you'd like to edit your application? Let me just go back to my presentation because I included it there. If I can find it again. No, it seems not. Yeah.
You want me to share?
No, I have it. I can share it, no problem. So the GoodGets platform allows the editing of an application after the submission. And this is possible always until the deadline of 30th November 2023, midnight, Brussels time. To do so, you can click on this button. You'll see a blue button with three points in vertical. And once you click on this button, a menu will open, as you can see in the screenshot on the right, where you can click on the button Edit. And this will give you the possibility to edit your application. And once you have edited it, you can save the changes by clicking on the button Save and Close. So there won't be any other, again, a button submit the application in the platform, but it's possible to save all the changes by clicking on Save plus Close button. Going again back to the platform. You'll see on the top right that the deadline here is running. So at the moment we have 31 days and nearly 7 hours from the deadline. So this is always there to remind the deadline of our call for tender. And this is more or less, let's say, how Good Grants platform works. I don't know if you have any question on the functioning of this platform.
I see no question. Anyway, there is a guideline for the use of the platform as Annex 2 attached to the tender documents. You can find also there some information on how to access the platform.
And please consider that it's always possible to send a question on the functioning of the platform if something is not clear.
Maybe one comment can be on the application name, Pesnik. You remember the first thing you have, you are asked to give a name to the application you are making. It is useful if all the members of this grouping you are forming, or in the case there are sister companies, subcontractors, and so on, they all use the same name for the application. It's not obligatory, but it can be useful because if we receive, as we hope, dozens and dozens of distinct applications, and with this obligation for each member of the grouping to upload some documents, at least the ESPD, if not else. For us, it will be useful if you use all of you the same name. It can be whatever name, it doesn't mean anything to us. But if you use all of you the same name, it will be helpful for us to consider the applications jointly. In the ESPD, it will be written and mentioned that I am connected to that other entity, or that other entity is associated with me. So it will be anyway proven and documented, every kind of connection. But just for helping us a bit in our work, we have introduced this convention of naming the application in some way, and we recommend using the same name for all the members of your consortium. You can also, if you prepare the same application for different lots, you can also use the same name, but then you will change the city, and therefore it will be anyway possible to distinguish the first group of applications from the second group. Or you can change the name. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a shortcut for us to understand.
Yeah, there's a question on the chat by Barbara Coelho from Cascais. Hi, everyone. How do CIDIS access the applications? Thank you. CIDIS don't need to access the application for the submission purposes.
After the closure of this phase, there will be the opportunity to access the applications for all the appointed members of the evaluation committee. So if you, Barbara, or any other person from your city is appointed to evaluate a certain number of candidatures, so you will get a restricted access. But in general, nobody, apart from us, will be enabled to see all the applications.
There is another question, Francesco, maybe I missed it, but can we as Slovenians apply on other cities' challenge or only on Maribor's challenge? Yes, of course you can apply.
Absolutely. This is the goal of this exercise. Please do that. And the more is better. The idea, no, joking apart, the idea is to demonstrate that if there is a good idea born in Slovenia, which can be easily adopted in Italy rather than in Bulgaria or in Portugal. Now is the time to document and demonstrate this potential, because we are completely open to this possibility.
And
so
again, Julia.
Correctly that each individual member of the consortium has to register, upload the document, and submit an individual application with same name of application. Perfect summary, Julia. If there is a consortium, but it may not be a consortium, it can be an informal grouping. In that case, every member of the informal grouping will have to do that.
And Diana from Theoremus.
And you will have time, as Besnik was saying, even if you submit, and then you realize that something was wrong, you make changes. We are not putting pressure on you guys. Bear in mind that when the deadline comes, the system will be closed. So we will consider the latest received set of documents for each applicant, resulting from all the changes before and after the submission has been pressed as a button. There was something else from someone?
Jana from Theoremus is asking if we have any questions regarding the specific requirements for a given city. Who do we contact? You can contact klimab@klimaboro.eu, the email address that appears everywhere, from the website to this to the slides to the platform, Good Grants platform. So you have this email in several, let's say, on several layers. You can find it. We are 12 minutes beyond our, let's say, deadline, but we can still, let's say, take a few minutes if there are last burning questions. I would say you can close now, Francesco, here, as it seems that there are no further questions.
Here, CTEC Vedel Camille. So we don't know exactly the content of the tender before December. No, the content of the tender is on display. You can download all the tender documents and they will never be changed. What you don't know is that CTEC, in this case, will receive an invitation to submit a proposal, because it will depend on the conditions I outlined in my introduction under the financial perspective, the technical capacity, and so on and so forth. If we receive too many candidatures, we will have to make a choice, and this will be done in an objective fashion, using the criteria and the scores that I presented. So the only thing that you don't know now is that if you have to put some work forward, because you will receive right before or right after Christmas the invitation to present a technical offer, and you will have a bit more than 1 month until the end of January to prepare the technical offer for real. So if you can anticipate that 1 month will be enough, just do the effort until the end of November of preparing the administrative documents, and then sit down and wait for the invitation to bid. If you receive the invitation, you will work in January. If you don't receive it, pity, it will be there for the next time. But all the conditions are already described in the full set of tender documents, which you can download, all of you, from the Climaboro website.
Okay, I would say thank you all, and let's close here this workshop. We remain available for any information you may need. You know which are our channels, so just write us to climab@climaboro.eu, and you'll get for sure an answer from us.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.